Everybody. We have these little crinks in the program because that's how conferences are run if you want students to run it. So please bear with us because we are trying from TSP Asia to also mentor students to run conferences. And we take the risk of doing it with no questions about you feeling what is this organization, they call it supply chain logistics. Logistics looks completely warped. But this is a workshop, it's a pre-conference workshop prior to the conference. Originally it was intended for the management students because we are organizing it in collaboration with the management institution. But students know it, and I'm sure the teachers here know it. And I have a distinguished professor with me next to me, friend of many decades. One of the most impossible things to organize a conference in an academic institution is to find the dates and the timetable. You don't know what agonies Dr. Prem Kumar, Professor of Economics, Faculty of Economics inside the university, has gone, and the multiple somersaults that he had to do to find 2 dates. We've only found 2 dates. Also because our Vice Chancellor, who's been very supportive of us, ESP, we organized some major conferences with South Center and so on. He is within a matter of, I think, a fortnight or less, will be laying down office. So we had to fix it when the time is available. Now, once we fixed it, then we realized, and this is peculiar to Karnataka, by the way, so you all should bear it in mind, that timetabling by the universities and colleges is another aspect of uncertainty, not as bad as climate change, but controllable. You never know when the exams are announced. So our own students from the Faculty of Economics are not here because they're all writing exams. Beams postponed the exams. I'm just giving you a background, but still we persist. This is the 3rd conference that TSP is organizing in Mysore. And our TSP friends, it's not because I live in Mysore. Our commitment is to scholars and students in Tier 3 institutions. I'm sorry. Tier 2 cities. Because students and teachers in major cities, mostly Bangalore in our case, other places get opportunities, and also some of the big institutions are there, Azim Premji Institution, all these bigs. We are also associated with it. They organize, for example, at this particular moment that we are organizing the conference, after we announced it, and after we also wanted to have a parallel conference on Youth for Climate Action, Azim Premji has organized a 2-week program called Rivers of Bangalore for students. And they are there. And we are, of course, getting students away from that. So just giving you a little background, when we start in the morning, not to be so disillusioned or worry, who are these guys? What are they doing? We don't know when we'll start, who will sit, what and so on. But the democratic participation will also mean, like in our own country, a certain amount of ups and downs, but ultimately we reach. Since I've been here and managing affairs with Professor Prem Kumar, I thought I should come and give you this explanation and say mea culpa, which in Latin means my guilt also. Before I start the next session, I want to thank Joe DeCruz, who in this hustle of the conference logistics, we did not thank him sufficiently. And he was specifically called because he's almost a 3-decade experience in the shipping industry. And you might find it very odd that in a landlocked place like Mysore, we call a shipping man and then talk about shipping and course. That's just to tell you, however landlocked you are, fortunately in peninsular India we are not landlocked, that however landlocked you are, that ultimately to get out, you need the seas. You may fly by air, whatever, but without the seas, very soon in relation to agriculture we'll talk about. So that's one way we wanted him to come and expose particularly younger people here to the larger notion. Because I have various theories about how landlocked countries tend to be more chauvinistic than other parts. And maybe peninsular India should be more open. The conceptually how the conference was worked out was that we would start with major shipping logistics issues, because it's very easy when we talk about logistics issues to immediately go into smaller, macro, not instead of macro, mesa type of things. So that's why I wanted to start with shipping. And he, being a shipping man, being a major stakeholder, has made his campaign speech also. But I congratulate him for making the campaign speech. And as I was telling Dr. Anand, unfortunately he's not been to, the chairman of the place could not be here because he's also shuttling between VC's office and here. The idea was also to introduce people like Joe DeCruz to institutions like BEAMS, to places like the University of Mysore. Our educational institutions should open up to these kind of experiences, to these kind of knowledge. Only then our teaching in our classrooms will have some connection with reality. Otherwise, what we do with our students is like teaching swimming. We give them all the theories that are in the world and throw them into the water and say, swim. So with this little bit of background, let me go now. Ships are important for food. And agriculture is very central for food. Dr. Sukhpal Singh should be, as the introduction is there, we have the bios in the folder. I would consider him one of the country's foremost experts, best expert on small farmers. And he led the Center for the Management of Agriculture in our most premier management institute in Ahmedabad, and he's still a professor there. And he always obliges us. And he started at 3 o'clock yesterday morning and reached the guest house at 12 past midnight last night to make sure that he can be with us, share his knowledge, experience. And the other very important dimension of Dr. Sukhpal Singh, which we don't find even among our PhD workers, is that very rarely people go to the field. He is a man who is completely conversant with the field. He did his PhD in Karnataka, so in Kannada I told him Banni, he did his PhD at ISEC in economics, and he loves coming to Karnataka. But then, the export and agriculture is a one-handed, like in the UN we say, somebody sent a telegram from an African country to the United Nations saying, send me a one-handed export. So the headquarters office asked the UNDP office in the country, why do you want a one-handed export? I said, UN experts come and say, on one hand you can do this, on the other hand you can do that. So we wanted a one-handed expert. So we don't like this, on one hand you can do this, on the other hand you can do that. So the second hand to agriculture is the people who market the products, and with all these major concerns. So the second speaker we invited is Mr. Balachandran, who's sitting quietly there, and asked him to come up here to the stage. And while Balachandran is coming, let me thank our representative from BEAMS, Prasad, without whom this conference would not have happened. Because sometimes, thinking, conceptualizing is all good, but somebody has to make it run. And I'm happy Prasad is here because the other faculty are not here. Mr. Balachandran actually was trained as an architect. And like many people in our country, irrespective of what you're trained, you also go and work in the IT industry. So he worked in the IT industry, he was in Canada and other places. But his one passion, his one mission in life was to make organic product selling viable and happening. But when I met him in Mysore for the first time, some many years back, in a very small store near Kalidasa Road, he was there. And when you went there, you would not know the man's background, you would not know the man's commitment, you would not know the man's passion. But fortunately, because of the different partnerships he's managed with farmers and people in Mysore, the store is called Prakriti, and it's very uniquely placed in one of Mysore's oldest buildings. If you get the time, go and see it. It's a 126-year-old heritage building, beautifully preserved, and quite logically or very well, his store is there. I won't stand between the two speakers, but I needed this little long introduction to kind of put you in the mood to follow the further proceedings. So I'll ask Dr. Sukhpal Singh now to speak, and after that, Balachandra to speak. Okay.